we've become such nerds at it where if a certain car was out and it was parked against a certain wall with a certain brick behind it, and you only showed me like 1 pixel of it, I could tell you where exactly that is in London just through one brick in the wall. So the London car spotting community, since I've joined around about 2014, I watched a video on YouTube who was Tim, Shmi150, and he was doing a spotting video trying to find luxury cars around London, and he was doing it with an ex-Top Gear presenter, Rory Reid. And me and Dad were just watching it one night and we thought, whoa, you see Lamborghinis and Ferraris on every street in the centre of London. So you've got like Knightsbridge, Mayfair, South Kensington. And we both looked at each other, both absolute car nerds. Dad's been to car shows since he was young. I went to my first proper car show in 2012, but it was in 2014, one night, and we watched this video and we both looked at each other and thought, oh, we're gonna have to go to London, see what this is all about and see if we can find these cars. So the next week, we went on a Saturday. Dad had a notepad all ready to write down all the cars we could see, and we thought, let's aim for around 5 to 10 cars, mainly Bentleys or Rolls Royces. That day, we ended up noting around about 150 cars, and from all around the world. So the spotting has kind of taken since 2010 and 2015. It started off with like 10 people on the streets taking pictures, from photographers to videographers, and the main one being Shmi, who started it all in 2010. And he would drive around, he would just upload these to YouTube, short amount of videos, not necessarily anything long, but just walking around the car, and they would blow up on YouTube. And back then YouTube was very small at the time, so them videos would be going viral. So that day we would walk around, and every single street you'd have a Bugatti Veyron, you'd have a Lamborghini Aventador all the way from Kuwait or Dubai. We couldn't believe the amount of cars that were in London in this certain bit in such a small space, because central London is quite small. I thought to myself, well, why not I create my own page? I thought Shami's page was incredible. He was my inspiration at the time, still is to be fair, that's who I look up to. Christmas Eve, I came up with Scoot Supercars. Now, as much as I thought, what name could I do? My surname's Scoot, I love supercars, let's put it together. 7 years later, I'm still doing it and still spotting on the streets of London, but it's a lot different now. I would start doing it with, as I said, with my dad, and we would go every weekend trying to find the best cars and progress to doing shows. Then I started going to all the petrol heads events, and then me and Dad would also start going to Top Marks in Monaco. So we started moving around the place, and it's kind of like you collect cards like Pokemon or match tags. You always want to keep getting better. You'd see a few Ferraris, but then you'd want to see the rarer ones. And I've got to the point now where I've pretty much seen most of the cars. You can't really show me a car that I haven't seen before. It's very rare unless you go into the one-of-ones tailor-made cars, which is amazing though. And I would have lists of these cars that I would write down and collect the VIN numbers off, all the makes. I would have websites, you research them up, the owners. But then it changed just from spotting to more of knowing the owners. So, of course, I'd be taking pictures and owners would be like, oh, do you want to sit in it or do you want to go for a drive? Just taking pictures on my phone, uploading on Instagram, I thought, well, I kind of want to capture this as a video format of like the sounds of them revving, drive. So I created my own YouTube channel in May 2015. I only did it for a bit of fun, and it was very hard doing it at school because over time I'd get bullied for doing it. It was very hard. I think still is, I would say. It's unusual. It's not me playing football or doing what everyone else is doing. I wanted to be different. So I started my channel and I thought, no, let's do this. Let's commit to this. First year was brilliant again with Dad. Keep going to all these London events. And the second year again. And then all of a sudden I started to get very cool opportunities that I didn't think I'd get. For my 13th birthday, I got to go out in a Lamborghini Aventador, start it up. That's the first car I ever started up was an Aventador. I thought, that's incredible. My 16th birthday, I went out in a LaFerrari. And that video was the one that set my YouTube channel off. That night, it got 1 million views and I got 1,000 subscribers. And that's what really kicked off my channel. Now, for me, that was a dream come true. I couldn't believe it, and I posted it and it was getting shared all over, and then that's when I started to get the interest. So I've been down the LaFerrari and I thought, oh, how could he top this? So sometimes I go to London, ask owners, can I go in your car? And some of them would say yes. And I say to myself, the worst thing they can say is no. So what's the harm in saying? And they love showing you. When all the Arabs come over from places like Dubai, Kuwait, Qatar, all of them, they come over to showcase their cars. They don't come over to do really anything else. They want to wrap these cars. So back in the days of 2010, you'd have Tron. That was chrome cars with lines in it, so they would light up at night time, and Arabs would be putting on exhausts that will set off every car alarm down Knightsbridge and anything, and probably why all the residents hated them coming over. But they wanted to be different, and they wanted to show us their love for it, and that's what was such a good bond in the car community, where you had owners mixing in with the spotters and putting it together. It was brilliant. And then to where I am today, the funny thing is I do this car stuff, but I don't drive. Really, I don't need to drive, because even though my neighbours absolutely hate me, every day I've got a new supercar owner picking me up at my house, going to events or going to London. I don't need to drive because I'm always in the passenger seat filming any YouTube video. Only the other month I was in the new Lamborghini Sian. And again, these are experiences that not many people get to, and I'm so grateful for where I am to make Scoot Supercars come to where it is now. This whole London scene has just taken off. You know, like I was going back to saying, it started off with people like Shmi, Paul Wallace from Supercars London, and he's also the main founder of this whole thing. And he was another big inspiration to me of doing it all. And again, funny enough, Dad entered a competition to win a ride in his Murcielago. We went, about a 2-hour journey, Dad got to go in it, and Paul looked at me and said, right, I'm going to take you out. And I thought, you're kidding me, going out with Paul Wallace in that kind of car. And at the end of the day, he was like, right, let me take your number, let's exchange and we can make future videos. And I thought, this is like you being a footballer and you get to play with Lionel Messi every weekend, or that kind of feeling where it just didn't make sense. It felt like a dream. Next month, I was in Monaco with Dad, again, like I was saying, for top marks, and Paul Wallace was there. And he said, oh, I'm going to be meeting Nico Rosberg, in a few hours. Do you want to join us? And Dad, being the biggest F1 nerd, his smile, he was going crazy. So we tagged along with them. Half an hour later, Dad's in the car with Nico Rosberg going around the F1 track. And them kind of moments where it's the people you know and it just expands. And you never know what might happen. And like now being good friends with Paul Wallace is opened up to so much stuff. This whole car community is incredible. Everyone's so nice. No one competes like, oh, you've got more likes than him, or your photo's better. From 10 people to, I would honestly say, around 5,000 people now. It's incredible. You'd walk in London and you'd be saying, hi, how are you doing? How are you? It's like it's our own little village now, what we've created. The areas of, again, like Knightsbridge, it's like our own hometown. I know that place more than my own village. We've become such nerds at it where if a certain car was out and it was parked against a certain wall with a certain brick behind it, and you only showed me like 1 pixel of it, I could tell you where exactly that is in London just through 1 brick in the wall. Without any road signs, without any housing behind it, we're that much nerds of it now, which sounds awful, but we know the back street, we know the back of our hands. London is our playground, as we say now, for spotting. And it's only getting better. You've got more owners now buying, these owners that come over, they don't own 1 car, they own hundreds. And they'll come in fleet. So you've got Arab princes come over. Where we are now, the bodyguards would send us messages or give us a call days before they come over so we could prepare ourselves. So I'd come back from college and plan the train route for when they come over. Starting 7 years ago, it was just by luck if I walked into a Ferrari. Now I'd be like, right, so 3 months' time, a Lamborghini Centenario is going to come over. I can plan it. It is unreal to be in this community right now. It is amazing, and I always wanted to be different. I didn't want to have a normal job. It sounds funny, but when you say like you want to make money, you want to be famous, I just wanted to be different, and I wanted to do what I love, and cars was always the pathway for me. Of course, I did a lot of football, but seeing this whole London thing, I thought, right, I'm going to do it. Coming up to college, I did 2 years at college before the whole pandemic, COVID hit. I don't think I actually thought of it right in the sense of mum and dad knew I was going to have to get a proper job soon. I hadn't had a job at 18. I was just doing this as part-time with YouTube money and doing this as college. And I don't think I was realising what I was about to come into. I always believe everything happens for a reason. I was at college one day and got sent an email by BBC, and I thought, right, this is clearly just a scam. And they were saying about this whole new TV show coming out. We'd love to have you as a star person on it. Let's get you, showcasing all these supercars in London. And I thought, how? This is too good to be true. So I sent my details out, this and the other. And then the pandemic hit and I didn't hear anything else about them. I thought, gutted. As you know, we all stayed in our houses. I didn't stop spotting. I carried on doing it on Google Maps. I created a series on YouTube where I'd go on Google Maps and actually try and find the supercars in London. I even found myself on it on Sloane Street. That's how many times I'm in London. I was even on it, captured by the Google car. And as soon as COVID started to, we started to get out, I then got a message again by the TV company. And I thought, oh, maybe this is real. And they said, we'd love to film with you. We couldn't do anything over the pandemic. Now working with Petrol Hensden, we went down to one of the studios where they're filming and to check out, and it would be the first day of filming and we'll see what it's like. I went with Dad. And that's the start of Spotting London Supercars, where I'm going to be starring in this TV show as like the main person, as giving you an insight on what we do, chasing, I suppose you can call it paparazzi. I never called it that as I don't like that word, but if a LaFerrari goes past, I am going to be sprinting the entire bit of London to try and catch up with it. So I suppose we are the car paparazzis of London, you could call it. And doing this car show, I now travel to Monaco 4 or 5 times a year, going to Dubai in 2 weeks. And I want to make this more of a worldwide thing, finding the best cars in the world and this whole car community, from starting with nothing, from like the 10 people to now this whole social media bubble we're in. It's unreal to be a part of this.
We'd like to thank Auto Tempest for their support of this month's videos on VINwiki. Auto Tempest is the best place to find your next car. Whether it's your dream car or your next project, anything you want to look for, it's the most powerful tool to search all the major listing sites at the same time. They give you much more specific search criteria. They are the supporter of Car Trek, and we cannot thank them enough for that, but this is now their 4th year of sponsoring the VINwiki channel. So be sure to thank them now by checking out the link in the description below to search for your next car. Autotempest.com, all the cars, one search.